Hi guys, my name's Wendy Higgins and I'd like to welcome you back to Stonehouse Gems. Tonight I thought we'd do something slightly different and I thought I would teach you how to make this lovely little contemporary bust from one of your old battered busts. This one I've had for quite a long time. I think I picked it up at a market and although it's a very good bust and it's quite substantial, it has seen better days. So I thought tonight I would teach you how to transform it into this really rather nice contemporary, rather different piece. If you're selling jewellery, it's really good to have something slightly different. It looks slightly more upmarket and it covers a lot of the blemishes and marks that are on some of your old busts. Okay, it makes your store look slightly different. Or if you just simply want to show your work or exhibit your work, then again it gives it a nice backdrop for your pieces. Okay, so for this project all you will need is an old battered jewellery stand or bust, this is wax cord, and I was very lucky to get around 100 yards at a car boot sale, I think it was, for a very good price, but there was an awful lot of it, so I decided to use it for this. But likewise you can use kitchen cord, any of the cords that you can buy in the really cheap shops that gives it a far more rustic look. You could use silk threads, silk cords, and if you wanted a bright colourful bust, then use a lot of your sari silks, this sort of thing. Okay, but that's what you'll need, and you'll need about 10 meters of cord. Then you need some tubes of all-purpose glue. This one is Yoo-hoo, and it's simply that because one, I found it easy to use with the tip, which is quite a nice fine tip. It dries quite quickly and I don't have a lot of patience, and it also helps to keep, when it dries quickly, it also helps to keep the cord in place instead of slipping around, and it's a very good multi-purpose glue. And then you'll just need a pair of scissors to cut your cotton cords with. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to take a piece of my cotton cord, quite a long piece for this piece because I want to cover the top of the bust. Okay, so take the end of your cotton and with your thumb and forefinger grab the end, and all you're going to do is you're going to make a nice little curl. So curl the cotton round on itself, pinching each time you go around to hold it in place, and just move it around until you make a spiral. A spiral big enough for you to hold comfortably. Sorry about the motorbike noise, I'm doing this in my caravan. Okay, so once you've got it enough to hold comfortably, hold your spiral, bring in your bust, and I'm just going to prop this bust up so that you can see the top of it a little bit better. Okay, is that okay? Okay, so once you've done that, take your tube of whichever glue you've chosen, and in the centre, now you need enough of this, don't be sparing because you do need the whole of this to stick, or what you'll find is a little bit later on parts will come away if you haven't put enough of the glue into the centre position. Place this into the centre like so and you can see it will hold it in place. I do recommend that you do this in an open space because the glue is quite a strong, has quite a strong smell to it, and it's not particularly good for you. So just move your cotton gently around your spiral like so, okay, until you fill up. And if you bring it to the outside of the glue and pull it in, it helps push the glues into the centre, and it helps to hold these together slightly. So as you hold the centre, bring it round and pull it into the circle, just like that. So from the outside, bring it round and pull it in, like so. And then bring it into the spiral and tighten. And that will keep, then run your finger around the top so it's nice and flat. Then your next section, I do recommend, I don't use it with this glue because it doesn't affect my hands at all, but I also recommend that you use gloves for this project, especially if you have any kind of allergies. So go around with your yoo-hoo again. Don't be tempted to fill the whole of this section because it'll dry too quickly and you'll waste your glue. Okay, then you just continue on round like so, pulling in as you go along so it tightens it and it's nice and you can't see the bust underneath. Bring it round from the outside like that, and then drag it in, and it'll drag some of the glue and it'll help hold the sides, the walls together. Okay, gives it a better bond to it gives the outer circle a better bond to the inner one. Okay, continue on around like so, and then when you get to it, continue with your glue. Do a section around like so. Make sure you put plenty of glue on and bring in your cord until you have a complete spiral. Okay, now I'm going to continue on with this, and then I'm going to come back when we're ready for the next section. Okay, so I've continued on with winding my cord and gluing it to the top half of the bust. It comes a point when you come to a section at the back where you can't continue on in a full circle. And just to let you know, every time I've needed to add, I was working in length of cord, every time I needed to make a join, I made it at the back of this bust, because the back doesn't show that often, and it doesn't really matter if you have the connections made there. But there's come a point now where I cannot continue on around because of the bust ends. So we need to look at a different method to complete this bust. Okay, so what I did is I cut sections of the cord and I glued the back section here like so, and then around. Now you need to work quite quickly with this section. It's not quite as easy as the full circle, but bring it all the way around to the ends. Okay, now you need to take, I'm going to turn this on its side. Can you see that? Take your cord, bring it into the as close as you can to the back, and then bring this section all the way around like so. Okay, right around to the back. Don't worry about the ends that are left, because you're going to cut them off at a later date anyway. So again, the next section, if you line it up centrally, bring it into the cord that you've already put on, bring this around to the back, and then glue these sections into place. They need to come to, they need to come to the very end, but it's not too much of a worry because you're going to go around later with a finishing cord, so it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Okay, then again up and around like so. Now there's not quite enough glue there, so add your glue as you go around. Oh no. Like so. like so. Okay, then your next section, glue like this, all the way around, like so. Bring your next length in halfway, up and around. Again, work from the outside and pull, so you're working slightly lower than your level of glue, and pull, pull it in. Okay, pull in that glue with it. Now, you'll notice that there's lots of ends sticking out, and that's absolutely fine. Okay, and I'll explain why later. Next section. Around to the ends, like so. Take your section, push in and around. And as you go around, make sure, just bring your finger around and push the cords onto the surface of the bust, giving it contact each time. Now you can see there, it's slightly loose as you push. Now all that means is there wasn't quite enough glue on that section, so pull this section up like so. So if my hands are in the way. Okay, and then take your glue and place it into that crevice there. Either I didn't work quick enough, or I didn't put enough glue into this section. But as you push your finger around, you'll feel those lift slightly, and then you know you need to actually go back into that. You can do this after it's finished, but not once you've put the borders around it. Then it's tied in and you can't do it. So I'm just going to continue on doing this until I've come to the end of the bust. Shortening it as you go along to shorter lengths. So as you get lower down, cut your cords and then just bring them in at a shorter. And here's one I did earlier. Okay. You'll have a finished bust. This is on a slightly different shape, but exactly the same techniques involved. What you'll see, I've cut one end, but what you'll see is lots of ends over the edge. Okay. So with your scissors, all you need to do, leave this for about 24 hours to dry completely, and then just simply take your scissors and go around the edges as close as you can to the bust and cut off the frays. Okay, keep it quite close, and I must admit this scissor probably isn't the sharpest one I have, but it's the only one I had to work with. Okay, continue on cutting, holding the edges, and go all the way around, cutting off the frays. Okay, and then what you'll find is, because these are the ends sections, some might be coming away slightly, so there won't be quite enough glue. So with your glue, pop it in between the bust and the your cords, and then push down. Hold these down and go all the way along, and this glue dries really quickly, so it doesn't take long to actually have to hold it and keep it in place. Alright, once you've done that and it's all nice and dry, you're left with a bust that looks quite nice and revamped, but it's not quite finished. So what you need to do is you need to take a long section of your cord, and what we're going to do is we're going to start at the top and we're going to work our way along this bust, finishing these edges and gluing one piece and then a second piece to the outside to finish this off. Okay, and in order to do that, if I turn the bust around, start at the back, put your glue on onto the bust, oops, think this one might be running out. Oh no. Okay, pop it on around the edges, over the top of your cord. Take the ends and pop it on. Now this is going to be your first level. Okay, so bring it down and stick it on. This does get quite messy because you need more contact than you did in previous with the previous layers, so you need to hold it. I do suggest that you wear gloves to do this. Latex gloves probably won't work very well because they're plastic, but if you use cotton gloves, it's probably the best option. Okay, so what we continue on around with this, and what we're going to end up with is the first layer of coverage all the way around the bust, and that gives you the first finish to this bust. Okay, so I'm going to continue on with this section, and I'm going to come back when this section's finished and I'm part way through the second. Alright, so meet me back in 5 minutes and I should have finished this first section. Hi and welcome back. So I've completed the next stage, and I've taken this one length of cord all the way around the perimeter. Don't worry about it being the back end being frayed. One, you don't see it, and two, you can always put a third piece of cord around this section here. But I've completed it around, but it's not quite finished. It doesn't have a finished look to it. So I'm going to put on the second section, okay, just so that it's, I mean, you can leave it like this if you want to, but I find a second section makes it look that little bit more professional. So I'm going to take my glue, and over the top of this first finishing cord I'm going to glue it. Okay. I'm going to glue along, oops, with a new tube, go all the way around the top layer, being careful not to spread this too much. Go all the way around. Work with as much as you can, but don't go too far around, because it will dry, as I say, quite quickly. Push these into place and bring this all the way around like so, laying it flat to the first section that you put on. Then bring in your glue again, glue around, this section here, pull in your cords so that they are lying completely parallel, and bring it back around, and again this section there. Then you're going to do the last section over this side, and this is where I like these tubes of glue, because they don't spread. They've got a right nice nozzle on them, and they don't spread the glue everywhere. So once you've done that, bring your cord up and around like so, and bring these together, evening them up to the end. Bring it round and do your last section just here, like so, and cut off at this intersection just here. Bring these together and then finish. Just finish by going around and pushing the cords close to the bust and bringing them together so there's no gaps or holes that you can see through, and you'll end up, bring it round, and you'll end up with a nice finished edge. Now all you need to do now, you can if you want to, but you can't see it, but you can actually go around a third time and put another piece along this very back section here. It's not required, but it will depend on how much you want to finish the whole bust. Okay, just put another section all the way around the inner rim, and that will finish it. But to all intents and purposes, there you have a revamped bust. And if you, this one's slightly too large, but if you place your jewellery onto the bust, it will give it a very contemporary look and a nice professional finished look. Okay, and that concludes our tutorial for tonight. I'd just like to say a massive thank you to my floorman, manager and cameraman, my wonderful son Benjamin, who's 13 years old, and nice finished edge. Now all you need to do now, you can if you want to, but you can't see it, but you can actually go around a third time and put another piece along this very back section here. It's not required, but it will depend on how much you want to finish the whole bust. Okay, just put another section all the way around the inner rim, and that will finish it. But to all intents and purposes, there you have a revamped bust. And if you, this one's slightly too large, but if you place your jewellery onto the bust, it will give it a very contemporary look and a nice professional finished look. Okay, and that concludes our tutorial for tonight. I'd just like to say a massive thank you to my floorman, manager and cameraman, my wonderful son Benjamin, who's 13 years old. Bye.